The night of the 2025 Grammy Awards was filled with memorable moments, but none drew as much attention as the entrance of Kanye West and Bianca Censori. Amidst the glittering stars of the music industry, the couple emerged as an enigmatic vision, contrasting with the atmosphere of celebration. Kanye, wrapped in an entirely black outfit that covered his body and face, appeared like a figure from an obscure ritual. Beside him, Bianca wore a minimalist and futuristic outfit, evoking interpretations ranging from submission to hidden symbolism. What at first glance might have seemed like merely an eccentric fashion choice quickly became the center of attention and theories. The impact was immediate. The reaction from those present ranged from looks of confusion to expressions of fascination. The media, always alert to Kanye and his controversial statements, began speculating about the true meaning behind their appearance. But was it just a performative act or a hidden message, carefully planned for those who knew how to decipher it? Welcome to another night where mysteries never sleep. I am Midnight, and this is 7 Nights. Before we begin, I'd like to ask for your help. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, but it makes a huge difference in getting YouTube to recommend the videos to more people and allowing me to continue bringing this content to you. I'm counting on you. Let's get into the video. The 2025 Grammy Awards was a stage for grand performances, emotional speeches, and historic moments. But nothing, absolutely nothing, drew as much attention as the entrance of Kanye West and Bianca Censori. Without giving interviews, without interacting with other guests, they simply appeared at the event and completely changed the atmosphere of the night. Now tell me, how many times has Kanye West walked into an event silent and left without saying a word? Exactly. Something was happening there, and it wasn't just a stylistic whim. As always, Kanye managed to turn his presence into a spectacle of its own. Dressed in a black outfit that covered every inch of his body, including his face, he looked more like a walking shadow than a celebrity accustomed to the spotlight. Beside him, Bianca was the complete contrast, a translucent and minimalist dress that left little to the imagination. Their image was striking. But the question everyone asked that night was, why? The first sign that this was not just any fashion choice came from the reactions around them. Artists used to sharing space with Kanye seemed hesitant. Some looked away, others whispered among themselves. It was as if their presence carried a weight that few there were willing to confront. But what exactly made that moment so unsettling? Social media exploded within minutes. The first videos of the couple's arrival began circulating, and theories started to emerge. Many compared Kanye's appearance to outfits worn by figures associated with secret groups and discreet societies. The act of completely covering his face could symbolize anonymity, submission, or even a transformation within the industry. But if that was the case, what kind of transformation was it? And Bianca? Her look also raised questions. Some saw her as the personification of what the industry does to certain female figures. Total exposure, the embodiment of a controlled ideal. Others suggested that she played a complementary role to Kanye, almost like a ritualistic symbol. Two opposing figures, but together they told a story. But which one? It wasn't the first time Kanye had used his image to send cryptic messages. Over the years, he had openly criticized the music industry, denouncing exploitative contracts and warning about the dark backstage of entertainment. But now he didn't need words. His mere presence spoke volumes. The question is, was he trying to warn people, or had he already become part of what he once criticized? Another detail caught attention: their position within the event. While other celebrities interacted, Kanye and Bianca were isolated, sitting like silent observers. No conversations, no smiles. Just a cold, calculated presence. Anyone paying attention would notice that this seemed like an intentional act. But for what purpose? The Grammys have always been an event marked by symbolic moments. In previous years, we've seen artists use their appearances to convey political and cultural messages. But Kanye didn't seem to be just protesting. There was something heavier about that appearance, something that couldn't be reduced to a simple act of rebellion. Many began to wonder whether this was a message for the public or for a specific group within the industry. Was it a direct challenge, a cry for help, or a silent confirmation that certain forces are always in control? Kanye and Bianca's silence after the event only made everything more enigmatic. No explanation, no statement. Just their image continuing to circulate, being interpreted and deciphered by those who delve into the hidden patterns of the industry. What really happened that night? Were Kanye West and Bianca Censori just drawing attention, or was there something much bigger behind that moment? Kanye West and Bianca Censori did not say a single word during the 2025 Grammy Awards. But they didn't need to. Their clothing spoke for them. The visual impact of their appearance was so striking that, for a few moments, it seemed like the entire ceremony had transformed into a symbolic theater, a message that only a few would fully understand. But what exactly did that aesthetic choice represent? Kanye appeared completely covered from head to toe in a black outfit that entirely concealed his identity. A look that evoked different interpretations depending on who was analyzing it. To some, he seemed like an anonymous entity, someone erased by the industry, a shadow in the spotlight. To others, his attire resembled robes worn in esoteric rituals, symbols of initiation and transformation within discrete societies. But if that was the case, what was Kanye trying to tell us? The choice to completely hide his face raised even more questions. Over the past few years, visual anonymity has become a recurring symbol in the entertainment industry. Masks, hoods, covered faces. Many believe this aesthetic is not just a fashion choice, but a code, a sign that the individual wearing it has gone through something behind the scenes of the industry. But was that the case with Kanye? While he hid behind the black fabric, Bianca did the exact opposite. Her tight, translucent dress exposed her body in an almost theatrical manner. The contrast was striking. On one side, the total absence of identity. On the other, complete exposure. But this duality wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was symbolic. Many saw Bianca's look as a well-known archetype within the entertainment industry. The concept of the female figure as a muse, a priestess, or even a pawn in something bigger. The way she stood beside Kanye, in complete silence, reinforced this perception. Was Bianca there as part of a performance? Or was there something deeper in this dynamic? What's most intriguing is that this wasn't the first time an iconic couple appeared at the Grammys with loaded symbolism. If we look at the past, we'll see that influential figures in entertainment have used the event to transmit messages through their clothing, gestures, and even performances. But were Kanye and Bianca simply repeating a pattern, or were they taking it to another level? Beyond aesthetics, there was another detail that did not go unnoticed: their posture. Kanye, covered and motionless, seemed to represent something hidden, mysterious. Bianca, exposed and silent, appeared to be in a state of submission or adoration. Some suggested that this image evoked initiation rituals, where public figures undergo a symbolic process before reaching a new status within the industry. But was that what was happening? The internet quickly started connecting the dots. Some people recalled past moments in Kanye's career when he openly criticized the entertainment structure and claimed there was a system of control behind major stars. Others dug up images from previous events where artists appeared in similar outfits, always surrounded by mystery. Could this be the way the industry communicates something internally? The big question here is, was Kanye trying to show us that he had been silenced? Or was he playing a role within this grand game? Looking at his trajectory, Kanye has always oscillated between challenging the industry and being part of it. His controversies, provocative statements, and behavioral changes have always sparked debates about how much he truly controls his own narrative. But now, what did this Grammy appearance really mean for his position in entertainment? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: nothing at this event was accidental. Every detail, every choice, every glance carried a message. But were we able to decipher it? Nothing in high-level entertainment happens by chance. Every movement, every glance, every aesthetic choice has a purpose. And if there's one thing Kanye West knows how to do like no one else, it's turning his presence into an enigma. But this time, it wasn't just his appearance that caught attention. It was the way he and Bianca Censori behaved throughout the entire award show. And let's be real, Kanye has done a lot at award shows. But this was different. It wasn't a protest. It wasn't a scandal. It was calculated silence. From the moment they entered the event, the couple seemed to be following an invisible script. Unlike other celebrities who smiled, chatted, and interacted, Kanye and Bianca maintained a rigid, almost ceremonial posture. No exaggerated greetings, no words caught on camera. Just absolute silence that, in some way, felt louder than any speech. And that raises the question, Was this just Kanye's reserved personality, or was there something much more calculated behind it? Throughout the entire ceremony, Kanye remained motionless, always looking in the same direction, while Bianca stood beside him as if fulfilling a specific role. At various moments, the two seemed isolated from the rest of the event, even while sitting among the crowd. The feeling was that they were there, yet at the same time not part of it, like separate pieces in a larger game. The most curious thing is that this type of behavior isn't new. Over the years, several influential figures in entertainment have adopted similar stances at large-scale events. Some call this the silent language of power, a type of nonverbal communication that only a few can correctly interpret. But if that was the case, what message were Kanye and Bianca trying to convey? To some keen observers, the dynamic between the two evoked a symbolic hierarchy. Kanye, hidden under the black attire, represented something untouchable, an impenetrable enigma. Bianca, on the other hand, in her nearly transparent outfit, seemed to play the opposite role, a figure exposed in a state of full display. This duality sparked various interpretations, from a commentary on power and submission within the industry to deeper theories involving rites of passage. But if Kanye and Bianca were indeed sending a message, who was it directed at? Visual records of the night show that, at certain moments, Kanye appeared to fix his gaze on specific points in the audience. Some say he was staring at influential figures in the music industry, as if trying to communicate something directly to them. Others believe he was simply reinforcing his stance as someone who doesn't play by the system's rules. But the strangest detail emerged when some images were analyzed more closely. In several moments, Bianca appeared to whisper something to Kanye, but he did not respond. There wasn't a single recorded instance of him directly communicating with her throughout the entire ceremony. This behavior did not go unnoticed, and soon theories began to surface. Was he deliberately ignoring her? Or was this part of the performance? If we go further and look at Kanye's history, we'll see that he never does anything without a reason. He has interrupted live speeches, made statements that directly challenged industry moguls, and made it clear countless times that he is not an ordinary player in this system. So why, of all times, did he choose silence now? The answer may lie in a pattern seen before. On other occasions, major entertainment figures have adopted similar behaviors just before drastic changes in their careers. Some call this the silence phase, a period where public figures send signals that something is happening behind the scenes, but without being able to say directly what it is. And here comes the big question. Was Kanye trying to warn us about something? Or had he already become part of what he always criticized? Whatever the answer, the fact remains that nothing about that night was random. Every movement, every look, every gesture seemed rehearsed. And if history has taught us anything, it's that when influential figures start behaving enigmatically, it means something much bigger is about to happen. But what exactly were Kanye and Bianca trying to show us? When Kanye West walked into the 2025 Grammy Awards wrapped in a black outfit, and Bianca Censori appeared beside him in a translucent dress, interpretations were immediate. But to understand the true impact of this appearance, we need to look beyond the surface. This event wasn't isolated. On the contrary, it fits into a pattern repeated by various entertainment industry figures over the years, a pattern that many believe is no coincidence. The music industry isn't just a stage for artists to shine. It's a game, and like any high-level game, there are rules, and more importantly, there are players who control those rules. Kanye knows this better than anyone. Throughout his career, he has made direct statements about what happens behind the scenes, exposing exploitative contracts, denouncing manipulations, and suggesting that the real power in the industry lies with figures who rarely appear in front of the cameras. And here's the curious part. Every time an artist starts speaking too much about what happens behind the scenes, their career takes a sudden detour. Sometimes it's a drastic image change. Other times, unexpected controversies arise and dominate the headlines. And in more extreme cases, some simply disappear from the scene for a while. So what was Kanye really doing that night? Many see his appearance as a direct message to the true owners of the industry. The black attire, which completely concealed his identity, may have been a symbol of forced silence, a way of showing that he no longer has control over his own image. Bianca, by his side, could represent another piece of this equation, someone being shaped, exposed, and transformed within the system. But if Kanye was trying to communicate this way, Who exactly was the intended recipient of his message? Within the entertainment world, there are events and moments that are more than just awards shows. They are high-level gatherings where alliances are reinforced, contracts are decided, and above all, positions are reaffirmed. The Grammys are one of those moments. Every year, influential industry figures come together, and everything that happens there, whether on stage or behind the scenes, has a deeper meaning than it seems. If Kanye truly wanted to challenge the industry's structure, why was he there? He had criticized awards shows before. He had spoken about how these events serve to promote controlled narratives. So why did he now choose to appear in a way that generated more questions than answers? There is a theory that suggests that certain artists, when they reach a very high level of influence, are faced with choices that go beyond what the public can see. Some believe that Kanye passed that point a long time ago, and that every move he makes now is a response to forces operating behind the scenes. This would explain why his presence at the Grammys felt less like an act of rebellion and more like fulfilling a role he can no longer avoid. And this wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened. The entertainment world has a long history of artists who suddenly change drastically, make cryptic statements, or appear at events in a completely different way than the public is used to. And the pattern always repeats. First comes the strangeness, then the speculations, and finally, the pieces begin to fit together. But putting those pieces together isn't always simple. After all, to what extent does Kanye still have control over his own narrative? The silence of the mainstream media regarding the deeper meaning of this appearance also raises suspicions. While tabloids and news sites focused only on the couple's outfits, no one delved into what this could represent in a larger context, as if this deeper analysis simply wasn't meant to be done. Looking at history, we see that artists who tried to challenge the entertainment industry's structure often ended up silenced in some way, whether by the media, through contracts, or even drastic changes in their personal lives. And here's the biggest question. Did Kanye West appear at the 2025 Grammys because he wanted to or because he had to? The history of the entertainment industry is filled with artists who, at some point, decided to challenge the system. And curiously, every time this happens, a sinister pattern repeats. Their careers collapse, their images are destroyed by the media, or unexplained events push them out of the spotlight. The 2025 Grammy Awards reignited this discussion. Were Kanye West and Bianca Censori sending a signal that something was happening behind the scenes? Kanye has been here before. He has openly spoken about how artists are exploited. He has denounced abusive contracts. And in more extreme moments, he has suggested that invisible forces control the industry's direction. But what happens when someone speaks too much? Looking at history, we see that every time a major entertainment figure tries to expose something, their career takes a drastic turn. Michael Jackson, before his death, openly spoke about manipulation in the music industry. Britney Spears spent years under a conservatorship, without control over her own life. Dave Chappelle disappeared at the peak of his career and returned years later with a new perspective on what really happens behind the scenes. Is Kanye going through the same cycle? The difference is that Kanye has never been easy to control. He has always defied standards and made a point of provoking the system. But lately, something has changed. His behavior has become more erratic, his statements more incoherent, and on several occasions, he has seemed to be trying to say something he could never quite finish. This change could be just the natural wear and tear of years under the spotlight, or it could be a sign that he is dealing with pressures beyond what we can see. And Bianca? Many believe that her presence beside Kanye is not just a typical relationship. Some say she is part of something bigger, that her image has been constructed and shaped to complement the narrative around him. After all, how many times have we seen female figures in the industry take on strategic roles alongside major artists right before drastic changes happen? The very dynamic between the two raises questions. Kanye has always been a strong-willed man, someone who controlled his own image. But at the 2025 Grammys, he seemed silent, distant, almost as if he were merely playing a role. And the question remains, does he still have control over his own story, or has he already become part of what he once criticized? Another curious point is how the media handled this appearance. While some outlets reported on the bizarre fashion choice, none explored the deeper implications. Why? Since when does Kanye West appear at one of the biggest entertainment events with an image full of symbolism, and the mainstream media simply ignores the context? This silence only reinforces a theory that has circulated for years, that certain subjects cannot be openly discussed. Some narratives are shaped and controlled, and when something deviates from the script, the best strategy isn't to attack directly, but to trivialize. If no one discusses the real meaning behind that appearance, then in the eyes of the public, it becomes irrelevant. But was it really? The most disturbing question of all is Kanye West facing the same curse as other artists who dared to go too far? Is he being subtly silenced? Or has he finally realized that there is no way to escape this game? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. What happened at the 2025 Grammy Awards was not just an act of eccentricity. It was an event loaded with messages, signals, and possibly a warning about what is yet to come. But what exactly is coming? For many, the 2025 Grammy Awards may have been just another night of celebration. But for those who pay attention to patterns, Kanye West and Bianca Censori's appearance was something much bigger. It wasn't just an artistic gesture. It wasn't a random fashion choice. It was an event filled with symbolism, and what it represents might tell us a lot about what's coming next. And this wouldn't be the first time Kanye used his presence to send signals. If we look back a few years, we'll see that every time he does something that challenges the status quo, drastic changes follow soon after. He has already challenged the industry's structure, made bombastic statements, and lost million-dollar contracts because of his words. But now he didn't say anything. No explanation, no speech. Just images to be interpreted. And that could be even more concerning. Because the question that few are asking is, was this the final phase before something bigger happens? The entertainment world operates in cycles. Major figures rise, challenge the system, and at some point, they're neutralized in some way. Some are discredited by the media, others disappear for a while, and some never return the same way. Is Kanye heading toward that fate? Or has he already passed that point and is now simply showing us that there's no turning back? What's most intriguing is how this event seemed like just one piece in a much larger puzzle. In recent years, we've seen drastic changes in the music industry, in the behavior of major artists, and in the way narratives are constructed. Media exposure, image control, and how public figures are molded have never been more evident. And when an event like this happens, we can't ignore the possibility that something much bigger is happening behind the scenes. And that's where the big question arises. Is Kanye West still trying to fight the system, or was this his way of showing us that he has already lost that battle? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. The 2025 Grammy Awards were not just another awards show. It was a signal, one that can be understood in many ways, but definitely shouldn't be ignored. For many, the Grammy Awards may have been just another event, but for those who see beyond appearances, Kanye West and Bianca Censori's presence was an enigma waiting to be deciphered. Nothing about that night seemed random. From the clothing, to the gestures, to the couple's absolute silence, everything suggested that something much bigger was being communicated. But were we witnessing a silent protest, or was this a final acceptance of the rules of the game? This story is just one piece. And one day, maybe you'll see the whole puzzle. If this made you think, subscribe, like the video. It helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share. After all, more voices mean more discoveries.